This joints are there are two types of principal types of joints. One is permanent and separable, and also I mentioned that these riveted and welded joints comes under the permanent joints. As you can understand that if we want to dismantle the joint, we have to break or destroy the fasteners. So even for riveted joint, and both for riveted joint and welded joint, we have to destroy the fastener. And but in case of bolted joints, or later on we shall discuss about quarter joints or knuckle joints, any one of them, at a later stage in machine design subject, you will learn about both their design, also about design of these bolted joints, riveted joints, all design aspects you will learn. uh, but here mostly we shall be discussing about different terminologies. And riveted joints, drawing of riveted joints is comparatively much easier than threaded joints, and also this topic is much simple. So once you get into the design aspect, then it will be more mathematics involved discussion in those topics. But here mainly the drawing discussion will be there. And once you learn about the machine design, you will understand that although we use you have already learned about engineering mechanics and solid mechanics, that means strength of materials. But you will see that many of the principles or theories those are developed in these two subjects are used to design all these joints or components or thickness of the joint or other parameters. But in most of the cases, in reality, it is very difficult to uh, design on case to case basis. So some experimental dependence is there, and consequently, based on the experimental results and experimental failure values, there are certain empirical relationships developed. And mostly you will see in many cases there are a number of empirical relationships available. And empirical relationships means they are curve fitted. So say for example, two parameters a and b are with respect to changing parameter a, how b varies. Then say for example, experimentally we have got some dots in or some points based on failure criteria of a component. And at a later stage we can create some curve fitting method, use some curve fitting method to create a best fit according to the experimentally obtained points, right? So these curve fitting methods, based on these curve fitting methods, whatever relationship between uh, b is, say f of a, in this format some relationships will be obtained, and those are called the empirical relationships. And they are maximum of them are obtained using experimental results. So although most of the design relationships in mathematically can be calculated or comes from these engineering mechanics and strength of materials calculations or principles of those subjects, but you will see in many cases we have to use these empirical relationships as well. So today we shall focus our discussion on these riveted joints. Now, you all of you must have seen riveted joints in many places. Now, previously it was extremely useful, but nowadays slowly we are trying to reduce the usage of riveted joints. So there are certain disadvantages. One of the most common disadvantage is because of riveted joint, uh, the rivet weight is much higher. So externally additional rivet parts or rivets are to be added to complete the riveted joint. So rivet weight is added to the overall joint weight. So that is one reason by which the total weight of the component increases. So compared to that, welding adds comparatively less weight. And also in many cases bolted joints are required at a lower number of bolted joints are required compared to riveted joints when we use bolted joints. Now, because of that, and in development, uh, as we are progressing with development of newer and advanced methods of welding and bolted joints, we are slowly moving on to using them at a much bigger or larger scale. But there are certain applications which are where riveted joint is extremely important. Most of the cases, these are where high joint strength is required, and mainly for, you can understand, for boiler or ships where high pressure is generated. So in those cases, to prevent leakage, riveted joints are extremely helpful. So you must have seen riveted joints. If you have seen boiler, I don't think many of you have seen boilers, but if you have seen the oil tankers, or those are called pressure vessels, and water reservoirs, maybe you have seen. Ships you have at least seen in videos or pictures, if not in real. Trusses frames you regularly see if you go through uh, any bridge with steel structure. You will see those bridge, there are trusses and frames, and those are connected with rivets. And also railway wagons are one common example where riveted joints are required. So these are some specific examples where till now we are using riveted joints, mostly because of high joint strength and uh, preventing leakage. Right now, as I mentioned, for riveted joints, there is rivets are extremely essential component, and this rivet is mainly consisting of three parts. This circular part is called, top part is head. This one is the body or shank, and the lower part is tail, which is somewhat tapered in shape. Now, uh, while specifying this rivet, we generally check what is the diameter at the body or shank portion, and based on that, so if a 20 mm rivet is mentioned, that means its shank diameter or body diameter is 20 millimeter. And uh, as I mentioned probably in previous class, to maintain interchangeability, interchangeability means if we set the diameter at some fixed values, then mass production is comparatively easier. And if a large number of, at a large quantity, if rivets are produced at standard size, say for example 12 mm or 14 mm, then if required we can replace them very easily. If we use standard size products, we can replace them very easily. That is called interchangeability. So to maintain that, standard sizes are set, and accordingly we can select as per our requirement. So how we can select that, so after some time I'll say you or show you some relationship based on which we can select how the diameter is selected. But mostly we have to select from the chart. So say for example, from calculation or from uh, any experiment or test, if we get the rivet diameter should be say 12.5 millimeter, then we have to select the next available standard size, that is 14 millimeter, right? And these are general purpose rivets, and they are generally greater than 12 millimeter in size. Less than 12 millimeter is very uncommon and uh, mostly not used, because the strength of that rivet, if the diameter is less than 12 millimeter, is very low, and that is not suitable for structural or machine work, right? Now, two important factors are there. One is strength and another is tightness. So these two factors are uh, e- ensured when we use riveted joints. So that is why we are still using riveted joints in these cases. Say, for example, bridges and trusses, there we require strength and rigidity. Definitely, we require. And also, when this tightness is present, that means we are trying to prevent leakage, and that also helps in increasing the durability or the strength of the overall joint. Now, for for the purpose of riveting, we are trying to join two plates using this riveted joint. So if you think in isometric view, say for example we have a thin plate, and below that we have another thin plate, right? So we are trying to join them using riveted joints. So first we have to drill a hole through this both the plates, and through that we pass the original rivet that has the three parts, that is head, body and tail, right? Then we use some die and backup bar to finish the final composition or final configuration of the riveted joint. Now these dies can be used either by hand riveting or by machine riveting. Now hand riveting is mostly applied by hammer blows. So in those cases, since hammer weight is comparatively lower, for larger diameter rivets it is difficult to use hand riveting. So generally we use machine riveting, where this hydraulic or pneumatic pressure system is used. Now this backing up bar is held fixed or placed in contact with the lower plate, where the head is also placed, and the upper die has a groove or shape that is equivalent to the head portion. So when it is pressed using a die, this extra material in this tail portion is plastically deformed due to high load or high pressure, and it takes a shape in this form here. So both the sides look similar, like the head part, and this die and backing up bar are removed, so we get the final desired joint. So in this manner we can complete the riveting process. Also there are two types, one is cold and one is hot riveting, right? Now for hot riveting, definitely we have to heat the rivet at a higher temperature. Now this has some additional advantage. You can note that I have mentioned here the temperature is around 1000 to 1100 degrees centigrade, that is red hot. And at that temperature, the both the die and backup bar are the die is pressed over the tail part of the uh, rivet to create the final joint. So once this is created and the rivet cools down, you can understand that since due to high temperature, this shank portion, which is between which is covered between the two plates, this part, the length of this part was elongated. Now once it is cooling down, it tries to shrink, but since these top head and bottom head, these two parts are preventing the shrinkage, so it creates some additional pressure over the two plates. So the fixing or bonding force further increases, and accordingly it becomes leak proof. So that is why for mostly for boilers and ships, this hot riveting technique is used, and mostly for lower diameter, like which are around 12 millimeter or less than 12 millimeter, between 10 to 12 millimeter, in those cases, or in cases where it is not a steel rivet, like metallic but non ferrous, like brass, copper or aluminum rivets, in those cases this cold riveting can be possible. As you can understand, I previously mentioned that for cold riveting, huge amount of load is or force is required, because it has to be plastically deformed to change shape. So that is why it is better to shift to hot riveting. Now generally for greater than 12 millimeter diameter, we go for hot riveting. Now, as I was saying, some advantages and disadvantages are there. Mostly, these comparisons are based on or compared with this welded joint and threaded joints. Now, Now you can it is listed here. These are some common that against vibration and impact forces, as I was saying during your threaded joint class, that due to vibration there is a tendency of loosening of uh, threaded joints, but for riveted joints there is no chance of loosening of the joint under vibration or impact loads. So this is one advantage. And you can easily create non-ferrous metal rivets, and also in many cases from non-metals like plastic or asbestos. So this is one big advantage. uh, in case of plastic components, it can easily be joined using rivets as well. So and also the quality can be checked easily. In case of welded joint, checking of that welded joint, whether there are some defects incorporated in the welded joint, those checking procedures are very difficult, and you will learn about them during your machine elements laboratory class. Some non-destructive testing methods are there, and they are mostly time consuming and also very expensive. So that is why we generally for riveted joints, generally the cost of inspection is comparatively lower. And also if we some for some reason if we have to dismantle the riveted joints, it is easier to visualize that since only the rivet will be broken out, then we can easily separate the two plates or two parts that are joined using that rivet. But if it is joined using welded joint, since the welding melts both the material, so the damage will be much higher, and also it will become defective if we have to dismantle for some reason. So the original component may be destroyed or become defective. Now as I was saying that in case of rivet, the most biggest disadvantage is, one is the riveting process itself is time consuming, and also sometimes high pressure is required at different orientation or different position. These heavy pressurizing machines cannot be taken. So these are some disadvantages. Additionally, the addition of rivet weights are the biggest disadvantage. Later I'll just few slides later I'll show you that there are two types of riveted joint. One type of joint additionally uses some plates, so where the weight further increases. So that is why this weight restriction is a big problem for riveted joints. Now, different types of rivet heads are available for different purposes. Now, based on the head style, these rivets are named. So, this is the most common and most usual type of rivet head, that is snap head or button head. So, this is almost semicircular in shape, and uh, this is most commonly used in most of the cases, most of the structural and machine work. Additional uh, heads available are the span head rivet, and you can see that all the dimensions relative to the diameter of the shank are given, and you can get them from any standard handbook. So you don't need to remember or memorize any of the values, only they are shown here so that you can understand what values are required if you are trying to draw uh, or machine make this type of rivets. So the relationships are given. So pan head is there, countersunk rivet head is there, flat head rivet is there, half countersunk is there, and two types of ellipsoid and conical, which are modified version of this snap head or circular head rivet, button head rivet. So these two are mostly used in boilers and ships. uh, and also in many cases there are some space restrictions and other criteria which have led to create this type of different type of heads. Now you can easily check that the length of the top part, top shape are different, and based on that the outside look will also change. And based on the application of the riveted joint or riveted part, we have to use or select this head of the rivet. Mostly these are fixed. It is so it is used for so long that already people have used different types of rivet in different places, and they have found their advantages and disadvantages. So you can find which type of rivets are mostly suitable for which type, or which, in case of which application, which type of rivets should be used, right? Now, as I was saying, that snap head is most common for structural and machine work. Now, in many cases, because of the snap head, the head is the area that is outside the uh, material, outside material is having a higher thickness. So this protruded part or protruded head takes or consumes some place. Now, in case of machines where movable parts are joined using rivets, in those cases there may be a space constraint. So, in those cases, this snap heads may create some problem. So that is why this countersunk head is created, or this cone head or countersunk head rivets are created. But one disadvantage is there for this countersunk head. Since this tapered part is inserted inside the plate, you can see that for the plate hole, this part has a diameter that is equal to the diameter of the shank of the rivet. But this upper topmost position is having a larger diameter. So this, since this part, a larger amount of material is removed, so this part becomes weak against tensile load. So if you put tensile load, so this part will have much material. So since lower material is removed from this part will be able to support that load. But this top part, since higher amount of material is removed, so that part will become weak and there is a chance of failure. So that is why in unavoidable circumstances only we generally use this countersunk head. But mostly, if the space constant is not there, we go for this button head. And also this flat head rivet I mentioned, these are generally very weak, and these are used for sheet metal work or very thin metal plate joining. So you can check if you have a steel bucket at your home or iron bucket at your home, you can see that one end is joined using this type of flat head rivets. So also this air conditioning ducts and steel boxes are joined using this flat head rivets. So these are some of the applications. Now, moving on to the type of riveted joints. So there are two types. One is lap joint and butt joint. Now in lap joint, what happens? We we use both the plates that are to be joined. One is wrapped over the other. So let me show you the isotropic view, isometric view, so that it is further clear to you. So this is one plate, this is plate one, and this is plate two. So one plate is placed over the other, and holes are drilled through them, and through that the rivets are passed to create the joint, right? So this type of joint is called lap joint, because one of the plate is lapping over the other main plate, right? So this is called lap joint. Another type is butt joint. In next slides I'll show what is butt joint. Now also there are another classification depending on the number of rows. It is termed as single riveted or double riveted. Now, how we specify row of a rivet? The line of rivet or the arrangement of rivet parallel to the edge of the plate. So this is the edge of the plate, and parallel to that is one row. So if only one row of rivet is used to join the lap joint, then it is called single riveted lap joint, right? So this top part is plate one and bottom part is plate two, and plate one is joined with plate two with a single row of rivets. So that is single riveted lap joint. And in many cases, more than one row is possible, 2 or 3 rows are possible. So if 2 rows are used, then it is called double riveted lap joint. Now double riveted lap joint again is classified in two parts. One is your chain riveting and another one is zigzag. So from figures you can understand, chain riveting means each row is placed parallel to each other, and also the connecting line of the centers of rivets at corresponding row, they are horizontal to each other. So if this is the first rivet in row 1, and this one is row 2, so first rivet in row 1 and first rivet in row 2 both are on the same horizontal line. And in case of zigzag, two consecutive rows have rivets that are placed in zigzag manner. Now here you must have noticed some of the terminologies, this P, PB, PD, these are some terminologies associated with rivet description, riveted joint description. So I'll uh, discuss them or show them in next slides. As I told, instead of 2 rows, 3 rows are also possible. So this one is triple riveted lap joint, and for triple riveted again chain joint is possible and zigzag riveting joint is possible. So in all cases, depending on the number of rows and orientation of the rivet or positioning of the rivet, we can specify them or classify them. Now this isometric view I showed you. This isometric view I already showed you, that one plate is placed over the other and riveted joint. Now for you, this orthographic projected view is important. So what you have to draw is this drawing. Now this part is oriented in front of the vertical plane and above the horizontal plane in this manner in first angle projection, right? So if you see from the top, this is the top view, and if you see from the front, this is the sectional front view, right? Now for sectional front view, you see that a section is shown, and this, if you take a section through this AA plane, you will see what is the sectional view. Now, also you might have noticed that both the plates are hatched with different hatch patterns to indicate that they may be made from different materials, or they are separate plates. It is possible that they are made of same material, but to indicate they are separate plates, it is required to use or specify different hatching styles in both the plates, right? Again, another term is introduced, m here. M is called margin. So again, I'll show you or tell you what is this margin. Now this type of projected view you have to draw with all the specifications will be known to you, and based on that you have to draw it. And generally this plate thickness T, based on that there is a empirical relationship. This D is 6 root T. So this is one empirical relationship. This shank diameter is selected based on the thickness of the plate, and its empirical relationship is 6 root T millimeter. So if you are, as I told, if you are getting a value say 13.4 millimeter using this rule, then you have to select D as 14 millimeter from standard size rivet, right? So that is the method of selecting. I'll share these slides with you so that these drawings are available with you. So similarly for this double riveted chain lap joint, you can draw this type of projected view. Again, this one is placed in front of the vertical plane and above the horizontal plane. So the observer is seeing from the top and front, and the section is taken over here. So sectional front view is given, and the other drawing, maintaining other drawing features, all the hidden lines and everything is given, center lines, hidden lines, all these are basic part of engineering drawing, so you already know about them. And you have to put hidden line if some surface or some component is not visible in the views. And as I also shared the six about the lecture of sectional views, there also you must have noticed or uh, heard that we do not use hidden lines in sectional views. So in this sectional view there is no provision for hidden lines. So in your assignment these type of different types of joints will be there. You have to draw only the projected views, not the isometric view. Only the projected view you have to drawing, you have to put in your drawing. Now again, for double riveted zigzag lap joint, so this one I already showed you. So two plates are joined with each other, and the placement of uh, two rows of the rivets are zigzag with respect to each row, right? Now, this one, these terminologies that came in last figure that I was saying, these are pitch, that is P, margin is represented by small m, transverse pitch is represented by P suffix T or P suffix B, or in some cases it is also represented as P suffix R, that is row pitch, and the last one is diagonal pitch, P suffix D. So this pitch is, as I told you, that row is considered the rivet lining that is parallel to the edge. So this one is one edge, and parallel to that is this rivets placed. So this is one row of rivet, and in each row the distance between the center of any two consecutive rivet is the pitch of that riveted joint. So small p is the pitch, and this PT, PR, or PB, these are called back pitch, transverse pitch, or the row pitch, PR. So this has some empirical relationships. Those are also mentioned here. For chain riveting, it is generally 80% of P, and for zigzag riveting, generally 60% of P. So this transverse pitch or back pitch is distance between two rows, and this diagonal pitch is for only applicable for zigzag type of riveted joints, where the distance between any two rivets placed in consecutive rows are measured, that is diagonal pitch PD. And margin is, this margin means the first row is located at certain distance from the edge of the plate. So from the edge of the plate, the center of the rivet row is called the margin. So if you place it at very near to the end, there is a chance of failure at this end part. So that is why this margin is also important. There must, you must have to leave some material on the left side before the, before drilling the holes for rivet, so that it does not fail, right? So these terminologies are also important. Now I mentioned that along with lap joint there is a type of joint, that is butt joint. Now why we have to use butt joint in many cases? uh, because for lap joint you can understand, since two plates are joined lapping with each other, so you can understand when they are pulled with some force P, since their line of action of those two forces are not collinear, it creates some bending moment with respect to each rivet, and as a consequence there is a possibility of warping of that riveted joint. So where the force is extremely high or very large, to avoid this warping we generally use this butt joint. So in case of butt joint, what happens, we add one additional plate above the two joining plates. So again, if I show you the isometric view, it will be clear. So this is the original plate 1 and this is original plate 2 that are to be joined. So they are placed butting with each other. Butting means face of plate 1 and face of plate 2 are touching each other, and this is called along the, along its thickness cross section, and that is called butting of two plates. And above that one strap is attached. This part is one strap or a plate that is placed over the, over both the original 1 and 2 plates, and through that the holes are created so that we can join or pass rivets through that holes and we can join them. Now, here one interesting thing is, single for in case of single lap joint, we saw that only one row was sufficient to fix that fix two plates. Now, since here both the plates are not joined using a single rivet, additionally we are using a plate to join them. So at least two rows of rivets are required to join a butt joint, and accordingly for single riveted butt joint will have minimum two rows of rivets. So for this part, this is plate 1 and this is original plate 2. Here it is named as plate A, plate B, and this upper part is the strap. Now you notice that if we pass only this rivet, then this plate 2 or plate B will be free, so it will not be fixed with plate A or plate 1. So along with this rivet is also essential. So minimum two rows of rivets are required to complete a butt joint. Since this is the minimum number of rivets, although two rows are required, it is called single riveted butt joint. Now, depending on higher numbers, so for double riveted, there will be four rows of rivets. So for this part, there will be additionally one more row, and for this part, there will be additionally one more row. And accordingly, also the strap size will be increased. Now you can understand, since we are using some additional strap, the weight and the size of the riveted joint will further increase. So where the weight is not much of a constant, in case of bridges and trusses, in those cases only we generally use this butt joint, where we have to avoid the warping of rivets, and also we can add this extra strap plate or uh, plate to create the butt joint. Now, this case we have used a single strap. There is a possibility that we can use strap on both side of the primary plates. So this is primary plate 1 and this is primary plate 2. They are touched with each other or butted with each other at this face. Above that, one plate strap is attached. Below that, another plate strap is attached, and all four parts are connected using this riveted joints, and that is called double strap butt joint. So depending on number of straps, this one only one strap was used, so this is single strap. Here two straps are used, so double strap, and both the rivets here are single riveted. So for this butt joint, if you uh, see the isometric view, it will be further clear. So this left plate is primary plate 1 to be joined with primary plate 2, and they are butted here. That means they are moved towards each other and they touch with each other at their thickness cross section, and above that one plate, strap plate 1 is placed, and below strap plate 2 is placed, and through all of them the holes are created, and through these holes these rivets are passed and joined to create the final riveted joint. So again, you have to, this is for your understanding purpose, but you have to draw this. For single riveted single strap joint, you have to draw in this manner. Again, for drawing this, if you see this isometric view, whatever is the projected view, that you have to draw only, and you have to show the sectional view. So there is nothing much to be explained. As you can understand, all the dimensions are uh, if all the dimensions are given to you, it will be easy to calculate and easy to draw. Now for butt joints also, along with this chain type pattern, there is a possibility of zigzag pattern. So this one is double strap and double riveted. Because double strap, because above there is strap 1 and below there is strap 2, so this is double strap. And double riveted, why? Because each plate is carrying two rows of rivets. So that is why on the left side 2 rows are there, and on the right side also 2 rows. So for double strap, minimum 4 rows of rivets are required. So for 4 rows of rivets, it is double riveted and double strap. And again, the orientation like before, maybe in chain format or maybe in zigzag format. So again, the relationship between pitch, back pitch, and the transverse pitch, all the values are similar, and the distance of margin, everything is mentioned here. So easily you can calculate in most of the cases if you know the diameter, shank diameter of the rivet, right? Additionally, some of the special type of riveted joints are also there. This one is diamond or lozenge type joint. So this type of joints you must have seen in different bridges, where the strap plate, to reduce the weight, the strap plate is uh, instead of rectangular shape, it is created trapezoidal on both sides, and on that the number of rivets are gradually reduced as we proceed from the away from the margin, and the number of rivets available and in each row is reduced slowly. So that way, that is one optimized design to reduce the total weight and costing. So when you learn about the design of riveted joints, you will understand that why reducing the number of rivets in the rows behind the front row is not reducing the overall strength of the joint. So the reduction in overall strength of the joint is very negligible, and that is why we can use this to save some weight and cost both. So these are some special type of joints. Another example of special type of joining is for lap joints. We can join right angled connections also. So if two plates are at right angles, then also we can bend one plate and we can join them using riveted joints. So this one is lap joint. So both original plates are joined with each other, but we can also use uh, butt joint. So additionally, there one angle is used. So this part is one angle section which is used to join two perpendicularly oriented plates. So this one is primary plate 1 and primary plate 2, and this one is the strap angle. So that strap angle is at 90 degree. It can be at different angle also to join two plates at other angles. So these are some special application or special cases where riveted joints are used. Now, failure, I'll not go into much details because it will be details, it will be discussed in your design classes. So, but introductorily, you can understand the primary failure is due to shear. So one plate tries to mostly in lap joint, one plate tries to move over the other, so shearing occurs at the interface of two plates, and the rivet tries to shear off at that location. So that is the main uh, weakest point of the rivet, and based on the based on the prevention, based on the design, if we try to prevent the failure there, we have to select the diameter large enough so that it can support the uh, desired load that is applied on each of the plates, right? So other failures are there. One is tensile crossing is there, and also shear failure of margin is there, tearing is there. So all these will be discussed in detail during the machine design class, and also the relationship to calculate the dimensions of rivet and everything, mathematical discussion, failure criteria, failure prevention, everything will be discussed during your machine design class. Now the last part is for to make it leak proof, there are two methods. One is caulking and another is fullering. So caulking tool is somewhat similar to the chisel. So in your fitter shop, you have probably you have seen some video demonstration where chiseling is performed. So these type of it is type of a chisel which actually is placed at the joining of two primary plates, and they are hammered so that this part is locally plastically deformed, and it is to some extent attached with the lower plate so that this part becomes leak proof. So in case of mostly boilers and other ship applications where leak proof uh, joints are required, there we generally perform this caulking. And in case of fullering, the fullering tools width is higher. For caulking tool, it is like a chisel, very small thickness is used. For fullering tool, the thickness of the tool is approximately equal to the thickness of the plates that are joined. So this is only the difference, but the main purpose is similar. That fullering tool also puts some force in such a way that here some localized plastic deformation occurs, and accordingly this part is fusioned with each other so that it becomes leak proof. Right. So that is all about this rivets discussion. So your task will be mainly to draw these projected views. So different types of projected views will be asked to be drawn for different types of joints, and I shall share this PPT with you so that you get the drawings available to you to take help from it if required. Right. So if you have any question in this regard, you can ask, or uh,
We have to draw the sidelines a zigzag style or a little curvy as it's shown.
yes, this is known as broken line, right?
Okay.
This is simple hand drawn. You can draw like this, simple using hand.
Oh, okay, sir.
This indicates that wherever there is a broken line, this indicates the plate is also available in this part, in this direction. It is a large plate. Also in this direction, it is a large plate. But we are taking out this portion near the end part. This is a straight line, that means here the plate ends. But along this direction and this direction, wherever there is a broken line shown, that means in this direction the plate is infinitely long, and in not infinitely, that means there are further material, plate material is available on that side, but we are breaking out or taking out some portion, because here the emphasized part is to show different types of riveted joints and how the rivets are placed or oriented. This orientation and those are important, so that is why this is also, you can say, sample drawing. That means a portion of the total drawing is shown here, right? If you have any other question, or
So between welding and riveting, which will be stronger?
that will depend. If depend also increase the in depending on the cost, because also depend on the application. It will depend on everything, but strength wise, depending on how much material is deposited, what type of welding is used. Actually welding types are different. Different types of weldings are available. There are also butt type of welding, lap welding, everything is available. So depending on the selection, the strength will vary. You will learn about all these strength design and selection of type of welding, which type of joint is to be used when. All these comes under this design discussion. So in details you will see all the mathematical equations and calculations for different types of welded joints, and you will understand which one is better. But in general, strength wise, you cannot directly compare riveted joint with welded joint. Application wise, there are some advantages and disadvantages. Based on that, these types are selected, right? Okay, so uh, let us stop our discussion today, and I'll post the assignments in your classroom. And again, I think 7 days will be sufficient for drawing this, and you will also have these files with you. So this time you don't have to think much. You only have to, it is more like a practicing the drawing. So since nowadays AutoCAD is available, or many other design softwares are available, so drawing is much easier. So it is not required very much complicated. Hand drawing is not required. And also, since you are doing it from home, you have must have certain limitations. So that is why I think simple, those examples I have shown here, only based on that type of drawings, I'll give you some assignments, and it will be probably easy for you to complete, right? Okay, so I'm closing this session, and once I post the assignments, you can check, or I'll inform your CR about that also.
Do we have to do the assignment into A2 page? The previous assignment, because sir, here A2 page is not available, sir. So I have to cut the art paper into A2 size.
Yes, sir.
Ah,
Same problem, sir.
that
Actually, in our area, A2 page is not available.
yes, actually, I told in the first class that you will get a bigger size art paper, which is generally equal to A0 or A1 sized papers. But those are graphic papers, but not engineering engineering papers. So in those papers, dimension may not also match. So for A2 drawing, you also don't need to cut it according to the size of engineering drawing paper. Exactly the dimension of A2 you don't need to follow. You just buy the art paper whatever is available in the shop. You just cut it into four equal parts and use one part as your drawing sheet. Is it okay?
Okay,
Actually,
sir.
sir, the paper we are getting is between A1 and A2, sir. It is
Sand
9.
knows sand knows art paper.
Yeah, yeah.
It's okay. That is what I'm saying. If whatever size you are getting, you just cut it into four parts, four equal parts, and place it in a landscape mode and draw on it. So in those cases, you might require, in some cases you might require more than one pages, right?
Is
So those freedoms are there with you because you are not submitting it. So those drawing sheets will remain with you only. So you have to take the photo and submit. So you can take the advantage. Whatever is suitable for you, you just choose that size and draw. I generally suggest A2 during classwork, because our drawing boards are having a size which A2 size is the best suited, right? So that is why I generally suggest A2. But since you have some limitations and you are drawing from your home, so whatever is comfortable to you, you just use that. Uh, if you are if possible, you try to make four equal parts of the paper you are getting from the shop and use one sheet for drawing, right? Any other thing you want to mention?
Sir, if we have to use many pages, then or just one page, we have to just grid in one page, right?
No, the title block in one page, but grid you have to place in all pages.
Okay, okay, sir.
Border and grid you have to give in all pages. And at the
Okay, sir.
bottom somewhere you write your name and roll number for reference only. Not according to title block, but in capital you just write your name and roll number. Okay. Hope you have enjoyed your vacation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.